Aliens in the Mind. Co-starring Vincent Price as Professor Curtis Lark and Peter Cushing as John Cornelius.
Forasmuch as it hath pleased Almighty God to take unto himself the soul of our brother Hugh, we commit his body to the ground, earth to earth, ashes to ashes, in the sure hope of the resurrection to eternal life, through our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Okay, that's that then.
Well, we'll be missing him, Doogie. The doctor.
20 years he's been with us.
Aye.
Do you know that fellow at the graveside?
I've never seen him before.
Oh, I don't doubt we'll know him soon enough.
Aye. The minister's await him already. Old Donal Scoular's not one to let a stranger pass his gate.
Part 1. Island Genesis.
Good day to you, sir. I'm Donal Scoular, the minister here. And you'd be...
John Cornelius.
A relative of the doctor's, maybe.
No, just a friend. A very old friend.
And have you travelled far?
From London. I had hoped to be here for the inquest.
That was this morning. Accidental death, of course. Tragic.
Yes. Could you tell me how he... I mean, I read that he fell from a cliff.
Last Friday night. There was a heavy fog over the island. We get a lot of it coming in from the sea at this time of the year. It seems he wandered off the cliff path. He was found at the foot of Drochna Head, 460 feet.
I see.
You know there's no boat back to the mainland until tomorrow.
Oh, yes, but I'm told there's an inn.
Oh, no, you're welcome to stay at the manse.
Well, that's very kind of you, but
Not at all, I insist.
Well, thank you.
Aye, Mary, my housekeeper, will be glad to see a new face around the place. Mary!
Is that you, minister?
We have a guest, Mary, Mr. Cornelius.
I'm glad to meet you.
An old friend of the doctor's.
It's a sad day, sir. He was such a fine man.
Mr. Cornelius can have the front guest room, Mary, can he not?
Aye? Is that all you have with you, just the one wee bag?
It's quite adequate, I assure you.
We'll leave it with Mary, Mr. Cornelius.
Thank you.
I'll away up and give the room an airing.
Now, you'll take a wee dram, just to warm you.
A little whiskey would be most welcome, thank you.
Oh, sit yourself down, Mr. Cornelius. Make yourself at home.
That's most kind, thank you.
Was it long since you'd seen him, the doctor?
It must be 3 or 4 years, I suppose. We wrote occasionally and kept promising to meet, but with the distance and pressure of work, well, you know how it is.
Aye, I can well imagine. Here.
Thank you.
And here's a health to you.
God bless.
And had you been corresponding lately with the doctor?
No, I haven't heard from him for quite a while.
That's better. And he was your oldest friend, you say?
Well, one of them. We were inseparable in the old days, Hugh and I, and a man called Curtis Lark.
Curtis Lark? That's rather a quaint name.
Rather a quaint man, I suppose. American, of course. The three of us were together at the same hospital. You're not free from aircraft noise even up here, Mr. Scoular.
Oh, a helicopter from the Naval Training Station. It's not usual for them to fly so low. Since you were at the same hospital, I take it you are also a medical man?
Yes.
Should I not be addressing you as Dr. Cornelius, then?
No, I'm a surgeon.
Hey, you'd be a specialist of some sort.
Oh, yes, I'm a brain surgeon. Didn't Hugh have a housekeeper?
Molly Kyle, aye. Oh, a fine woman. She was at the service.
Do you think she'd mind if I went up to the house?
I'm sure she'd expect it. Why not now? Before it gets dark. I'd be glad to walk you over there myself.
Oh, that's very kind of you, Minister.
Come along then, Mr. Cornelius. Oh, if you could just wait a moment, I'd better tell Mary we're going out.
Certainly. I'll be outside stretching my legs.
Half past? 2 minutes slow. What the devil?
Oh, no. Oh, please, no.
Poor child, what is the matter?
She's calling them. She's calling them again.
Calling who, my dear?
The fellowship. She's calling them away from the fire. Oh, stop her. Stop her or they'll die too.
Who will die?
Who will die? You will.
Come here, my dear. What is your name?
Flora! Flora, come inside at once.
Oh, no, Minister. I'm all right. I'm not hearing her voice. I'm not. I'm not.
I'm sorry, Mr. Cornelius. I hope Flora wasn't bothering you. This seems to be one of her bad days.
What's wrong with her?
Sick in the head, I'm afraid. Mental disorientation, the doctor called it.
Is she receiving any treatment?
Prayer and faith in the Lord is the best possible treatment, Mr. Cornelius. Many of the young folk on Luig come here, troubled in spirit, and within a year or so, they're completely cured. That's why their parents send them to me.
Really? Are you a faith healer, then?
No, Mr. Cornelius, I am just the shepherd to my flock. Now, shall we walk across to the doctor's house?
Please.
It's just a few minutes over the headland. This is Drochna Head, Mr. Cornelius.
Was it here that Hugh fell?
Ah, down on those rocks.
Seems rather a long way to have strayed from the path.
24 feet, according to the coroner.
He must have walked this way hundreds of times. You'd have thought that...
It was quite a fog we had that night.
Even so, the path here is worn to the bare rock. But the moment you stray towards the edge, it's all grass, thick grass.
He was drunk, Mr. Cornelius. It wasn't said at the inquest, of course, but everybody here is of the opinion that poor Dr. Dexter had taken a drop too much that night.
That doesn't sound a bit like Hugh.
Hey, wait, what's that?
What, where?
Down there on the beach. You see?
Oh, yes, there is someone down there.
Ah, he's taking the cliff path up towards the doctor's house. Come along. We'll no doubt run into him further along. Ah, here we are.
Much bigger than I expected.
Ah, this was his surgery, a dispensary, and the living quarters as well.
Oh, hello, Minister.
Hello, Molly. Oh, this is Mrs. Kyle.
Good afternoon, Mrs. Kyle.
Good afternoon.
This is Mr. Cornelius, Molly. He was a friend of the doctor's.
Oh, aye.
Hello there.
What?
And who is this now?
Good Lord, it's Curtis Lark. Where on earth did he spring from?
Hello, John. How are you?
I'm fine, but how did you get here?
By passenger jet, private charter plane, and finally by one of your Royal Navy's helicopters. Am I in time?
Not for Hugh's funeral, if that's what you mean.
Well, I did try, but I was in wildest Borneo when I got the news.
Oh, I'm sorry, let me introduce you. Professor Curtis Lark, the Minister, the Reverend Donal Scoular.
Professor.
And Mrs. Kyle, Hugh's housekeeper.
Hello.
Will you not come inside, gentlemen?
Thank you. After you, John.
Go straight into the study, if you would.
If you would excuse me, Molly.
Aye. You'll be wanting to get back for the fellowship meeting.
Fellowship?
The Fellowship of the Kirk.
Oh. I'll see you later then, Minister.
Aye, back at the manse. Good day to you, Professor.
A bientôt, Minister.
Early Edwardian walnut. Hardly Hugh's taste, I would have thought.
If it's the furniture you're talking about, he bought it with the practice. It used to belong to old Dr. Mingy's before. There's a picture over here that you'll maybe recognise.
Oh, yes, the class photograph.
I think you're both there on it somewhere.
The second row left with Hugh standing between us.
I can still remember the day when it was taken. Oh, was it really 20 years ago?
No, it was nearer 30.
Oh, my goodness. Well, all things considered, we still look remarkably young.
All things considered, Curtis, you probably need glasses.
Oh, we're none of us getting any younger, sir.
Mrs. Kyle, did the doctor ever wear glasses?
Aye. He had a pair made last year. Just for reading, you know.
What time was it when the doctor went out last Friday?
I wasn't here that night, sir. I was over to the mainland to visit relatives.
Oh, I see. So you wouldn't know if he had been drinking at all?
No, sir. I'm afraid not.
Uh-huh.
Can I get you gentlemen something to eat?
Oh, that's an excellent idea. I had breakfast somewhere, but I've quite forgotten where or even when it was.
You must be starved. I'll away to see to it now.
Oh, thank you. You're most kind. Oh, dear, dear John, I can't tell you how glad I am to see you again.
My dear fellow, I'm glad to see you too, and surprised.
Surprised?
I'm astonished. It's less than a week since Hugh's death was announced. It's quite incredible that you managed to get here from, where was it? The wilds of Borneo?
John, I wasn't in Borneo.
Oh?
No, that was just for the minister's benefit.
Ah.
I'd left Borneo 2 days before on my way here. And when I heard the news of Hugh's death, I was actually making a stopover in Sydney, Australia. You see, I received this letter from Hugh. Look, you'd better read it here.
Thank you. My dear Curtis, please read this scribble indulgently, because it's extremely difficult for an island vegetable like me to keep a steady leaf between lines, eh? Well, it doesn't make sense.
Oh, yes, it does. Don't you remember that silly code we devised when we suspected that horse-faced matron of opening our mail?
Oh, good Lord, yes. Let me see now. First two, wasn't it?
Right.
First two and last two words in every sentence.
That's right. Now you try it again.
Ah, I know. Please read, and the last two, between lines.
Right.
A terrible danger here. You must help me.
Message ends.
A terrible danger here. It's as though he knew he was going to die.
And who was going to kill him?
You can't be serious.
Well, he obviously thought his mail was being intercepted.
You can't suspect the postman.
I don't even know the postman.
Well, then.
And I hardly know Mrs. Kyle any better.
Oh, now that's preposterous.
Well, someone was checking Hugh's mail.
It doesn't follow that they killed him, or indeed that anyone killed him.
John, I found this pair of glasses on the beach.
Show them to me.
They're reading glasses.
Oh, I can see that, but they're not necessarily Hugh's.
Well, they were just about where his body would have been.
Well, surely they would have been in a case.
Hugh certainly had a case for them, John. Look, it's right there on the desk. Empty.
And it still doesn't prove anything.
Not in a court of law, perhaps. But it's proof enough for me. You can't really believe that Hugh, or anyone else for that matter, would walk along a dangerous cliff top at night in thick fog with a pair of reading glasses stuck on his nose. It's just not possible.
According to the minister, the general opinion is that Hugh was drunk that night.
John, that's not possible either.
Why?
Well, he swore off liquor the night his wife died. Besides, I've seen the autopsy report.
When?
I made a courtesy call on the coroner earlier today before I arranged for the helicopter to bring me over.
But that's not allowed.
I know. I think perhaps he was overwhelmed by my medical reputation.
I'm amazed. Perhaps we could come to the point, Curtis?
The point, my dear John, is that according to the autopsy report, there was absolutely no trace of alcohol in the body. Not in the stomach, not in the blood, not in the urine. None whatsoever.
Curiouser and curiouser.
Gosh, if we could only find something positive.
What did you have in
Oh,
mind?
I don't know. Some notes, a diary, a letter he never dared send, anything.
But where do we start to look?
Well, presumably where no one else would think of looking.
You think he hid something?
I certainly hope so. I would have done it in his place.
Oh, yes, I'm sure you would.
Well, don't just stand there, John. Try those filing cabinets.
Oh, very well.
Nothing much in the desk. I'll try these cupboards over here.
Just medical reports here. What you'd expect, really.
Hey, there's a cassette recorder in here.
I thought Hugh was a hi-fi man.
Well, he was.
I can't imagine what sort of music he had... Oh.
Scottish folk music, sea chanties, the Boston pops.
Never.
Oh, no, definitely not his scene.
If he had wanted light relief, he would have chosen Vivaldi or Scarlatti.
And certainly not on a cassette. He was too much of a purist. Oh. Let's move it on a bit. No, not far enough yet.
I've recorded
There
this
we are.
message for John Cornelius, consultant surgeon to the London Encephalic Hospital, or for Professor Curtis Lark of the New York Institute of Paranormal Phenomena. I must admit from the start that all my research records disappeared when my study was burgled earlier in the year. Construe that how you will. All that now remains is a notebook of my observations, which I have lodged for safekeeping with our old friend, Ward Locke.
Who? Well, do you know anyone named Locke? I don't.
The only Locke I know had the misfortune to be an encyclopedia.
What are you talking about?
Ward Locke's Medical Encyclopedia.
John, you're a genius, an unsung genius.
Yes, but we tend not to sing about it on this side of the Atlantic, you know.
Locke.
That black tome, dear boy, over on the left there.
Ah, here it is. Locke's Medical Encyclopedia.
Oh, do open it, Curtis. It won't bite you.
Well, look at that. A hollow's been cut into the center of the pages.
Yes, but what's inside?
His notebook. What else?
Ah.
I've just returned Ward Locke to, as you would say, his appointed place in the order of things.
Yes, but you'd better let me have that notebook. You're always losing things. I'll put it in my pocket.
Damn it, I've even lost the playback button on this
try
infernal
that one.
machine. All right. There we are.
If you can find time to contact Ward Locke, you will see that my observations have led me to believe that this island is in the throes of giving birth to a new race, a mutant species. Physically, they are human, but my EEGs suggest that their brain is quite different from ours. I know for a fact that they are capable of some form of telepathy. It is the development of this telepathic power during early adolescence that is directly responsible for the high incidence of mental disorientation among the younger people on the island. Almost invariably, the clinical symptoms in these cases seem to disappear within about a year.
Scoular's prayer and faith in the Lord.
What's that supposed to mean?
The minister cures them, or so he claims. The island sickness, he calls it.
What Hugh's describing sounds more like an island genesis.
Yes, I know. Look, switch it on again.
All right.
The single exception to this rule is a girl whose development seems to have been arrested in the middle of her own personal metamorphosis, as it were, so that she retains all the disorientation symptoms. Logically, one would have expected a complementary arrest in the development of her brain, but her EEG suggests that her brain may in fact be better developed than anyone else's. She has proved able on occasions to disrupt the telepathic communication of other mutants, and this is what frightens me. To implant her own thoughts in their minds. It is my belief that she may be a second-phase mutant, the prototype of a genetically selected master race. Her name is Flora Keiry.
Keiry.
Pray God she is only the prototype. If there are others like her, the whole future of mankind as we know it could be threatened.
My God.
Well, at least we know why Hugh died.
Dr. Dexter.
Mrs. Kyle.
I thought I heard the doctor.
Well, you did, Mrs. Kyle. But it was only a tape recording.
Sit down, Mrs. Kyle.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, I can understand it. It must have given you quite a turn. Look, you'd better drink this.
Thank you. What a nasty taste.
Well, it shouldn't be. It said pure malt on the label. Go on, drink it up.
Oh, my heart's still pounding. I just wasn't expecting it, you know.
You rest for the moment. You'll soon feel better.
Yes, now look, this will help you to relax.
Oh, I'm feeling quite dizzy now.
No. Don't get up. Don't get up. Just rest there.
Lord, the poor woman's fainted. It must be the shock.
Oh, don't be an ass, John. I slipped her what is euphemistically known as a Mickey Fin.
A Mickey? There's no smell. What on earth was it?
There was a curare derivative. Out in Borneo, there's a tribe of headhunters who use it as a local anesthetic.
Very interesting, John, but hardly relevant. Unless you intend taking Mrs. Kyle's head as a trophy.
No, but she may intend taking mine, or yours, for that matter. Let's be quite clear about our situation, John. Hugh was killed, presumably by mutants, because he knew too much about them. If they discover how much we know, we won't have a snowball's chance in hell of getting off this island alive.
But you surely don't suspect Mrs. Kyle of being a mutant?
Until such time as we learn how to distinguish mutants from non-mutants, I intend, in the interest of self-preservation, to suspect everyone on this island of being a mutant.
Curtis, I met a girl called Flora earlier today at the manse, the minister's house. She was about 18, I should think. Well past the age of puberty, anyway. She had all the symptoms of the case that you spoke of.
The second phase mutant, huh?
It could be. Where are you off to now?
To the manse, of course. That girl's our only lead.
What about Mrs. Kyle?
Oh, she'll sleep it off in about a half hour or so. You coming?
Just collecting the cassette?
Very good thinking, my dear John.
Thank you. Right. Now let's go.
I'm coming.
Look, Curtis. Something's going on in the church. The lights are on.
Must be some sort of service.
The fellowship meeting.
Yes, that's right. The minister mentioned it.
So did Flora. She said something about calling them away from the fire.
What fire?
I don't know.
Well, then I think it's time we found out. Come on.
Are we all gathered? I've called you all to the house of God, because it has always been our refuge in times of trouble.
John, give me a leg up. I want to do a little surreptitious eavesdropping. Steady, John, steady.
You're overweight, damn it. All those hot dogs.
Stop it.
Well,
Let me down.
with the greatest of pleasure.
There are rows and rows of them in there, just sitting there like so many zombies.
Listen.
Servant of the devil.
His work is Satan's handiwork. It should be cast into outer darkness.
All unto everlasting hellfire!
Those people make the Spanish Inquisition sound like a parlor game.
If the devil's handiwork were consumed in eternal hellfire.
And I would not move from the house of God to save it.
Aye, and the ashes should be cast
Curtis,
into outer
there's a fire up there on the hill.
Ooh, what a fire. It looks like the whole house has gone up in flames.
Hugh's house?
Yes.
I've just remembered something,
What?
Curtis. When I talked to Flora, she said that if I didn't stop her calling them away from the fire, I'd die too.
You?
I didn't understand at the time, but I do now. They wanted us to be in that house.
And they would just sit there in their church and let us quietly burn to death. What?
Who's that? Flora, what are you doing here?
Waiting for her to die.
Mrs. Kyle. She's up there in that inferno, probably still unconscious.
No, she's awake now.
Flora, what's going on in the church?
She is calling them to the fire. Listen.
Save me! Save me!
Oh my God, something's wrong!
Quickly!
Quick! Save her! We must go while there is yet time!
No, stay where you are. Stay.
not move.
We must move! The wrong person is burning! An innocent is burning!
It is over.
But she was calling them. Why didn't they go?
Because I was telling them to stay.
Why, Flora, why?
Because now Luig is mine. Luig is mine.
So Mrs. Kyle was a second phase mutant, too.
You realize what that means?
Yes, it means that Flora isn't just a prototype. Hugh's so-called master race has been with us for at least 50 years.
50 years. 3 generations.
And God said, go forth and multiply.
That was part 1 of Aliens in the Mind, co-starring Vincent Price as Curtis Lark and Peter Cushing as John Cornelius, with Henry Stamper as Donal Scoular, Sandra Clark, Flora Keiry, Shirley Dixon, Mrs. Kyle, Irene Sutcliffe, Mary, and Fraser Kerr, Dr. Hugh Dexter. Aliens in the Mind was written by René Basilico from an idea by Robert Holmes. Production by John Dias. Aliens in the Mind. Co-starring Vincent Price as Curtis Lark and Peter Cushing as John Cornelius. On the remote Scottish Isle of Luig, Lark and Cornelius are convinced that the death of their friend Dr. Hugh Dexter was no accident. From his research notes, they diagnosed the island's sickness as early symptoms of a strange genetic mutation, affecting many of the island's inhabitants, turning them into zombies, blindly obeying orders from an unknown source. The key to the mystery seems to be an apparently simple-minded 18-year-old girl, Flora Keiry, who saves them from burning to death in a fire that destroys Dr. Dexter's house, and with it, the housekeeper, Molly Kyle.
Let it burn. Let it burn.
No! No! We must go and put it out!
Do not move. Do not move.
We must move! The wrong person is burning! An innocent is burning!
It is over.
But she was calling them. Why didn't they go?
Because I was telling them to stay.
Why, Flora, why?
Because now Luig is mine. Luig is mine.
Part 2. Hurried Exodus.
Come in.
Morning, John.
Oh.
You still in bed?
Where else should one be at this unearthly hour? Look, and I distinctly said 4 minutes. Look at it, damn thing's raw.
Well, you know, in some parts of the world, raw egg is considered quite a delicacy.
Well, not here it isn't. Did you discover anything of value in Hugh's notes?
Oh, just bits and pieces. It's like a jigsaw puzzle with most of the pieces missing.
Well, that's more than we expected. We'll have to put together our own picture and then see how Hugh's pieces fit in.
Well, now, let's see. What have we got so far?
I've got a slight feeling of nausea from this revolting egg.
Perfidious albumin.
Oh, no, please, not at this time of day. Look, pour me some coffee, will you?
Sure. It's my pleasure.
No, thanks. Now, what have we got so far? The fact that there occurred on this island a mutation of the human species brought about by some genetic transformation of the brain which enables it to receive some form of telepathic communication.
Only to receive? Now, what about transmitting telepathic messages?
Well, but that's not proven, is it?
No.
We can be certain of only 2 cases. Molly Kyle, who is now dead, presumably, and Flora Keiry, who, at best, is an imperfect example of a different, more highly developed mutation, what Hugh was pleased to call the master race.
Controllers would be a more accurate description of those 2 bizarre ladies. They both seem to have this power of implanting their own thoughts, their own will, in the minds of other mutants.
And so what outwardly look like ordinary human beings become, in fact, extensions of the mind of the controller, without even being aware of it. That's terrifying.
Think what Hitler or Stalin might have done with power like that.
Think what they did without it.
According to Hugh's notes, in the 20 years he was on the island, there were 120 cases of mental disorientation.
Mutant metamorphosis.
What you will, which gives us 120 mutants under the age of, say, 33.
And at least as many over that age.
250 all told.
And all totally indistinguishable from the rest of the inhabitants.
Except for Flora.
Yes. Except for Flora. We've got to get that girl to London. It's the only way.
Oh, now, wait a minute. Hang on. That could be a pretty tall order.
We must do it somehow. We need to run tests on her, medical checks.
And do all the other things that Hugh Dexter tried to do.
Precisely.
And got himself murdered for. You know, that blaze last night at Hugh's place was no accident, John. It was meant for us. Someone out here just doesn't like us knowing too much.
That's why we have to get Flora away from here. Surely you see that.
Well, I can see the sense in it, but what I can't see is how to go about it.
We'll start with the minister.
I'd like our chances a lot better if I disliked him a little less. That man really spooks me. Now, John, about the minister, there's no doubt that he's a mutant. Well, he is a mutant, isn't he?
Almost certainly, on the evidence we have.
But he's not a controller.
I would say it's unlikely.
You know, once Flora realized Mrs. Kyle was dead, she said Luig was hers. I don't believe she would have dared say that if the minister was also a controller.
No, and when I first met her yesterday, she seemed completely overawed by him. Mind you, he is a trifle overbearing.
Not to mention unpleasant. He's much too sinister for my taste. A sinister minister.
Oh, Curtis, really.
Still, this little visit of ours should dent his sanctimonious composure.
How so?
And I feel sure he hoped, perhaps he even prayed, that we died last night.
Well, we'll soon find out.
The next few minutes could be quite interesting.
Oh, Mr. Cornelius.
Whatever's the matter, Mary?
Come in.
Well, thank you.
You look as though you'd seen a ghost.
Aye, well, we thought you must be dead.
What made you think that?
You on fire up at the doctor's house last night.
We'd gone by then.
Yes. Fortunate, wasn't it?
Aye. But Mr. Cornelius said he'd be staying here for the night, and when he didn't come back...
The fault is entirely mine, Mary. I persuaded him to keep me company at the inn.
Aye. Well, all's well, I suppose. I'll get the minister. Minister?
Yes, Mary?
Could I trouble you?
You're coming. Well, what is it, Mary?
There's two visitors to see you. Mr. Cornelius and...
Professor Lark.
Professor Lark.
Returned from the dead, Minister.
What? You did manage to...
Escape.
We left before the fire broke out.
Aye, you were fortunate.
We'd feared the worst for you.
That will be all, Mary.
Yes, Minister.
What about Mrs. Kyle?
There's the real tragedy for you. Such a fine woman, a real pillar of strength in the community.
She is dead, then?
Aye, they brought down the body this morning, or what was left of it. Aye, strange that they should have found her in the doctor's study.
Why not?
She should have. She was usually out and about in the garden at that time of the day.
Well, maybe she was looking for something.
Do they know what caused the fire?
No, and I doubt they ever will, frankly. When will you be returning to London?
We'll get the boat back this afternoon, most probably.
Aye, very wise.
And we'd like to take Flora with us.
Flora? And what would you want to do a thing like that for?
She is ill, Minister.
Aye, she has the island sickness. We don't need a brain surgeon to tell us that.
Minister, I suspect that she has a tumour.
A tumour?
On the brain. She has all the classic symptoms, and it's the most likely explanation why she has not returned to normal like everyone else has done.
Oh, I see. And I suppose you will be wanting to operate on her yourself, Mr. High and Mighty Cornelius.
Only if my first diagnosis proves correct.
Well, I'm not committing that poor wee lassie to having her brain meddled with. I have no right, anyway.
You don't need one. She has a perfect right of her own. She's of age.
But she is not compos mentis, is she?
Not all the time, certainly.
But some of the time her mentis is so compos it's almost out of sight.
And what's that supposed to mean?
It's just a manner of speaking.
Minister?
Well, Mary, what is the matter?
Have you seen Flora this morning, Minister?
No, why?
Her bed's not been slept in. She couldn't have come back last night.
When was the last time you saw her, Mary?
When she went out last evening.
We'd better start looking for her.
Well, I'm going straight down to the police station.
The police station?
We can't let that girl roam round loose on the island. We've got to find her before she does some harm to herself. My coat, Mary, if you would.
Yes, Minister.
I'll come with you, Minister.
And what about you, Professor?
No, I think two's company. I'll just wander up to Hugh's house and poke around in the ashes.
You won't find much in there.
What? Oh, yeah, you're right, officer.
Sergeant, if you don't mind, sir. Sergeant McBenney.
Okay, Sergeant. Did the minister send you?
Yes, sir.
What, to keep an eye on me?
To help you, sir. If you want.
Nice of you.
It's only 2 minutes on the bike. What are we looking for, by the way?
I really don't know. Some of Dr. Dexter's research papers, perhaps. Though I don't think much could have survived this. It's one of the most comprehensive fires I've ever seen.
Just as well, if you ask me. Some of the church fellowship took great exception to Dr. Dexter's researches.
Now, why would they do that?
Well, sir, over the past few years, those researches, as you call them, seem to be aimed exclusively at the fellowship.
Oh, come on now.
And to no one else. Practically every single member of the fellowship had been investigated by Dr. Dexter at some time or another.
Investigated, Sergeant? Oh, that's police language. You mean examined?
No, sir, I mean investigated, Professor. Brain pictures, blood samples and the like. He even went into our family backgrounds, our ancestry. Oh, aye. It was an investigation, right enough.
Did he ever investigate you, Sergeant?
Aye, sir. He said it was for the influenza. That was just last year.
So you're a member of the fellowship, too?
Aye. Well, I don't think you're going to find anything here, Professor.
No, I guess you're right.
I'll walk you back to the manse, see if there's any news.
What of young Flora?
So you know about that?
Yes. Yes, I was there when they found out.
Hold on, sir. I'll just fetch my bike.
Okay. I I wonder what makes a girl like that run off.
You mean Flora?
Yeah.
Well, I hear you're wanting to operate on her head, and she might not want to see it opened up like a can of beans. It is her head, after all.
But no one's told her about that yet. Maybe she doesn't need to be told. Oh, dear God.
Are you ready now, sir?
Yeah, okay, I'm coming.
This is the beach road round the head. It's a wee bit further than the path over the top, but it's easier for me with the bike and all.
Is that drop in the head?
Aye, sir. Straight up above you.
A long way to fall. Poor Hugh.
It was an open and shut case, Professor.
Not open enough, Sergeant, and shut too damn quick. There's someone up there.
You couldn't see them from here, even if there was. Nobody goes too near the edge. It's in danger of giving way as it is.
There's someone up there now.
No, there are always wee pebbles falling. It's the wind and the rain that does it. Look out!
Come on, Sergeant, the whole cliff's coming down.
Run, Professor! Run for your life!
Good Lord! What was that?
No, it's nothing. It's just a cliff. There's been a lot of rain recently. Must have weakened the overhang. It's fortunate that there was no one underneath.
But there was! Look!
Aye, there's two of them. That looks like Sergeant McBinney. Come on, we'd best see if they're all right.
Curtis, are you hurt?
Oh, I never felt better.
But what happened?
That damn cliff tried to fall down on us.
Aye, and it near succeeded too.
One man and another drop their head's a pretty dangerous place.
Especially to foreigners. What are you all doing here, anyway?
There's been news of Flora.
Oh?
Well, apparently she's been seen near an old barn.
Which barn is this?
Old Mackenzie's place. One of your men brought the news not 5 minutes since. We're just on our way over there.
I wonder what put it into her head to come out here.
Why did Flora stay with you in the first place, Minister?
Our parents sent her.
Because she was troubled in spirit.
And the trouble stayed with her. More's the pity.
What about her parents, Minister? Were they members of the Fellowship?
Her mother was, but her father was an ungodly man.
They were happy for Flora to stay with you?
Her father wasn't. Old Keiry kicked up a fuss about it. Isn't that right, Minister?
Aye, right enough.
Why is everyone talking about them in the past tense, as though they were dead?
They are dead. They died about 4 years ago. A terrible accident.
Not a fire, by any chance?
Aye, it was a fire. Oh, Professor, you must be fey.
And this island must be very inflammable.
There's the barn up ahead now.
Are you sure this is the right place, Minister? It seems odd for a lassie to come here.
It was one of your own men who told us, Sergeant.
It seems ridiculous coming all the way up here. It's a wild goose chase, if you ask me.
You think perhaps we ought to turn back, Sergeant?
There's no point in going into a place like that.
Stop your blathering, man.
Stay out! She's not there, I tell you.
That's easily proved, Sergeant.
Stay out of that barn.
Why? Don't argue with him, John.
I'm ordering you to stay out.
And I am telling you, I'm going in there.
Keep out, I tell you. Keep him out. He mustn't come in.
Take your hands off my person.
Look out, Minister!
Come on, John. Leave them at it.
Keep him out.
He's past you,
He
man.
must not come in.
What was all that about?
The police sergeant's a mutant. Didn't you see his eyes?
Then why is he fighting the Minister of all people?
You're right. It doesn't make sense.
Unless the Minister isn't a mutant, which knocks our theory on the head.
I can't work that one out. At least not now. Come on. Flora must be in here.
Keep him out. Keep him out.
Over here. In the corner.
Keep him out. Keep him out.
It's all right, Flora. It's all over now. There's nothing to be frightened of. Here, blow your nose on there.
Flora, can you make the policeman go home?
What about the minister?
Oh, the minister. Oh, keep him away.
Minister's not here, Flora. Honestly. At least he's taking no further interest in the proceedings. I think the sergeant hit him with his nightstick.
Truncheon.
Oh, right, truncheon.
The minister's asleep, Flora. He'll never find out about your being here unless Sergeant McBinney tells him. So I want Sergeant McBinney to go away. Don't you?
Oh, yes. I want
Sergeant McBinney.
I want Sergeant McBinney
to go away from here. Wish hard, Flora. Wish Sergeant McBinney away from here.
I wish Sergeant McBinney away from here.
He's going. He just turned and he's walking away. Like a sleepwalker.
Bye-bye, Sergeant McBinney.
Bye-bye.
I hate breaking things up, John, but I think it's time we were moving out. That boat leaves in an hour.
Right. Now, Flora, I thought it might be rather fun to go on a boat. Oh. Have you ever been on one?
No, the minister always forbade me.
Well, we won't let the minister know. We'll just sneak on board without telling him, eh? Come on, then. Take my hand. Uncle Cornelius is in charge now.
Uncle Cornelius?
You can forget all about that horrid old minister.
Uncle Cornelius. Hey, wait for me, Uncle Cornelius.
Welcome aboard, sir. May I have your tickets, please?
Yes, there are 3 of us.
Thank you very much, sir.
Where are the cabins?
Well, they're both aft, sir. One on the port side, the other on the starboard.
Ours is cabin A.
Aft on the port side, sir.
Come on, John, Flora.
After you, Flora, my dear.
Thank you.
The cabin is aft on the port side, wherever that is.
Straight ahead on this side.
Cabin A, here we are. Hey, your cabin awaits you, Uncle Cornelius.
Do I have to go in there?
Not if you don't want to, my dear.
I want to stay outside and look at all the people.
All right, you do that. Curtis, we must keep an eye on her. The least little thing could set her off again.
You, Mary?
You stay with her, John. You're doing just fine. Right. I'll see if I can get some drinks brought up to the cabin, huh?
Flora, would you like something to drink?
Oh, what can I have?
Anything you like.
Could I have some wine?
Wine?
Well, why not? She's over age. Wine it shall be, my lady. Won't take me a minute.
Oh, look, there's Mary down there.
Where?
Down there by the gangway.
Oh, yes.
I wish Mary could come. She'd love a boat ride.
Oh, I shouldn't think she'd want to come.
She'd want to if I wanted her to.
Oh, yes, well, I'm sure she would.
Well, then I do want her to come.
Flora, no.
Come on, little Mary. Come for a boat trip.
No, Flora. She doesn't want to come. She hasn't got time.
I want her to come. She will come. She has to.
Welcome aboard, madam.
I must go on board.
May I have your ticket, please?
I must go on
John,
board.
I've had the drinks put in the cabin. The wine glass is hers.
Yes, Curtis, thank goodness you're back.
Well, what the hell's going on?
She's trying to call Mary on board. Now, Flora, they won't let her on without a ticket being reasonable.
Why don't you come and have a glass of wine with us, Flora, to celebrate?
No, I want Mary to come.
Well, she can't.
Then I'm not coming. I don't want a boat trip.
We can't get off now, Flora. It's too late.
Get her into the cabin.
In here, Flora, dear.
No.
Now, come along.
No, I won't. You can't
Flora,
make
get
me.
her in there. Get in there.
Oh, Purser, how long before we sail?
Any moment now, sir. But what was all that?
Oh, it's nothing, Percy. Just a rather spoilt child who doesn't want to go back home to London.
I don't blame her. He wouldn't get me going into a big city for all the tea and china.
Help! Help!
No good shouting, Flora. You'll just stay there now until we sail.
Help! Take me off! Help! Help!
Your tickets, please, sir.
Take me off.
Your tickets, please.
Take me.
Oh, look here.
Take me off. Take me off.
Right, off you go then. Down there where you just came from.
Off. Take me off.
Hey, none of that. Come here. Well, I warned you.
John, let me in. Let me in. Oh, for goodness sakes, John, do something. She must be calling every mutant on the island. There'll be a riot if we don't get her under control.
The only way to do that is to knock her out.
Yeah, exactly.
Any suggestions?
Mm-hmm. Just two, these two. Pop them in her wine glass and make her drink it. That should do the trick.
I hope you know what you're doing.
Trust me, John. Anyway, I can't stay here chatting with you. I've got an invasion to repel. Now, don't forget to lock the door after me.
All right, all right.
None of that. Take me off. Take me off.
It's locked, Purser.
Take me off.
Oh, my God. Now, you just stop kicking that door down. John, for Pete's sake, switch her off, will you? Oh, no, you don't. Oh, no. Come on. No, you don't. Come on.
Off.
No.
What are you doing? Oh, I beg your pardon. I'm awfully sorry, sir.
That's quite all right, Percy.
What happened?
Well, I thought you were going to fall, so I just grabbed you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
You feeling all right now?
Yes. Yes, thank you, sir. I wonder what came over me. Anyway, if you'll excuse me, sir, we'll be sailing almost immediately. I must attend to my duties.
John! Open up, John. It's me, Curtis.
Come in. What have you been doing?
Oh, I've been swapping bedtime stories with the purser. Where's that drink, John? I think I've earned it.
Here you are, dear boy.
Oh,
Scotch, as usual.
Oh, boy.
I hope you don't mind. We started without you. Didn't we, Flora?
Yes, we did, Uncle Cornelius. Oh, it's lovely.
Oh, so you like the wine, Flora? Hmm?
Oh, yes. He never let me drink wine.
Who didn't? The minister?
Aye.
Well, he'll have to let you now, won't he?
Aye. Oh, long as you don't tell him. Oh.
Catch up, Curtis.
Ready and waiting, sir.
What was it? Your famous Mickey Finn again?
Yes, sir. Double measure.
It's very good, isn't it?
It is the best.
What was all that commotion outside the cabin?
Oh, my dear John, I was repelling boarders, or trying to. Quite apart from the little army of mutants down on the dock, our friendly neighborhood purser decided to join in the fun and kick the door down.
Great Scott, the purser? How did you stop him?
Well, I interposed my body between him and the cabin door.
Clever, eh?
And he kicked me on the ankle, damn him. Mind you, he wasn't really himself at the time, but when he came to his senses, he apologized and went about his duties like a good little purser.
Extraordinary. The purser's an unexpected complication, isn't he?
Yes, he was a real shaker. I just wasn't prepared for a mutant here on the boat.
But it's a normal enough job for an islander, flying back and forth to the mainland.
Yeah, but I wonder how many mutants have used the boat to get off the island altogether, and whether they went of their own free will or under orders.
That was part 2 of Aliens in the Mind, co-starring Vincent Price as Curtis Lark and Peter Cushing as John Cornelius, with Henry Stamper as Donal Scoular, Sandra Clark, Flora Keiry, Fraser Kerr, Police Sergeant, Irene Sutcliffe, Mary, and Andrew Sear, the purser. Aliens in the Mind was written by René Basilico from an idea by Robert Holmes. Production by John Dias.